Okay, so going over our next lesson, we are introducing something new called function notation, okay? Function notation is another way that an equation can be written. So for example, we are used to seeing y equals 2x minus 8, but as in function notation form, instead of y, they'll use f of x as a function of, or a function of a value of x equals 2x minus 8. So it's the same exact equation, but you'll see it written as f of x instead of y. This is just how you say, or how it's read is f of x or function of x. Just a fancy way of writing the same equation. So we're going to learn something new in the calculator, so be sure to do this with me. We are going to change some settings in our calculator. To do this, it's at the top of your notes. You push second window. Second is your blue button. Window is the second button at the top, okay? And you see this window right here. We are going to arrow down to independent, okay? There's independent, there's dependent, and right now it's flashing on auto. We want to change it to ask. And we're only going to change the independent. Do not change the dependent. So we're going to hit enter to change it to ask. Okay, so now that it looks like my notes, we're going to hit clear. And now we're going to get started. So we are technically evaluating functions. We have already talked about this and what it means, but we're going to learn how to do it with function notation. To evaluate a function for a specific value, we substitute that value in for x. Okay. So yes, there is a way to show all our work on a piece of paper, but we are going to rely heavily on our calculator. So let's just jump into that. So they want us to evaluate f of x equals x plus 7 by substituting 5 in for x, -1 in for x, -3 in for x. So I'm going to show you in the calculator, of course, but then, so let's focus mainly on the calculator. So what I mean by that is we are going to type this equation into y equals, okay? Y equals is that top corner. And we're just going to type x plus 7. Okay, that is x, not multiplication. X is next to the alpha button. So x plus 7. Okay. Then we are going to go to the table. So we go to second graph. Okay. Let me say that again. Second graph. Lots of calculator steps. And right now the table is empty. And the reason why it's empty is we are going to ask the calculator to evaluate these functions for me. It's going to do all of the math. So all we have to do on the left side of this table is type in 5, -1, and -3. So 5, enter, -1, enter, -3, enter. And what the calculator has done is given me my solutions for if I were to substitute 5, -1, and -3. And let's see if it's true. If I substitute 5, 5 plus 7 is 12. So my answer is 12. If I substitute -1, -1 plus 7 is positive 6. So equals 6. If I substitute -3, -3 plus 7 equals positive 4. So all we have done is a quick way for the calculator to do the math to evaluate each of these functions. Again, it's not hard to do in our head, but at the same time, we want accurate answers, so it's going to get tougher. So let's do this again, but this time our equation is 3x minus 8. So we go back to y equals, we hit clear, and we're going to type in 3x, x next to alpha, minus 8. And we're going to go to the table again, so we're going to go to second graph. Now, this time we don't want 5, -1, or -3. So instead, we're going to hit delete, 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 so that way we clear our list. And we're going to type in 1, -3, and 0. So there's my solutions right next to it. If I were to do this in my head, I would substitute 1 in for x. So 1 times 3 is 3, minus 8 is -5. So my calculator did all of that math for me. If I were to substitute -3, -3 times 3 is -9. -9 minus 8 is -17. If I were to substitute 0, 0 times 3 is 0, minus 8 is -8. So really up to you if you want to evaluate in your head or if you want to use the calculator. The calculator is just a quick way and also an accurate way, so that way we're not making any mental mistakes. So again, we're going to do this one again over and over again. This time our equation is 2/3 x minus 1. So we go to y equals. We type in 2/3 x, which is out next to alpha, minus 1. And we're going to go to second graph. But our values, we want -3, 0, 9. So delete, delete, delete. We are going to do -3, 0, and 9. And there are my solutions. -3 equals -3. 0 resulted in -1. And 9 resulted in 5. Okay? And we're just going to do this over and over again. So number 4. Go to y equals. Our new equation is x squared minus x. So x squared is x squared button raised to the second power over here. Minus x. And then I go to table, second graph. My values are -4, -1, and 7. So delete, delete, delete. And we're going to do -4, -1, and 7. And there are my solutions. 20. -1 is 2, and 7 is 42. Takes all the guesswork out of it, so we get an accurate answer. Number 5, again, go to y equals. We hit clear. 2 minus 4x. We go to second graph, and we are going to do delete, delete, delete. And we're going to find -5, -2, and 4. So -5, 2, and -2, and 4. So then here are my solutions. Positive 22 for -5. -2 resulted in positive 10. And positive 4 resulted in -14. Pretty easy. If I keep going, I'm just going to go ahead and do all these examples. So you're welcome to do them with me. What you notice is we haven't had to change anything on my window yet. So once you do it once, you don't have to do it ever again. It's already set up for you. So it should already be set up. So again, we just keep going. So y equals, this time we're doing -x squared plus 6x minus 4. Okay, and the only way you miss this is if you don't type them in correctly. So if you don't know the difference between a subtraction sign and a negative sign, then that's where people mess up. So just make sure you know a negative is in front of a value and minus is between two values. So just know the difference. Then I go to second table, delete, delete, delete. So I want to do -3, -1, and 5. So then my values are -31, -11, and +1. Super, super easy. So notice how much quicker that would take as opposed to trying to do that in my head. So it's much quicker just to use this calculator shortcut. Number 7, y equals. I replace it with -1/2 x plus 9. Second graph. Delete, delete, delete. And I want to find the values for -8, -2, and 0. Results in +13, +10, and +9. Okay. Number 8, y equals. Clear. 2 minus 4x. Pretty repetitive after this. Second graph. Delete, delete, delete. And I want to do -5, -2, and 4. So my solutions are +22, +10. I feel like I just did this. Didn't we just do this? Yeah, it's the same exact equation. Okay, let me make sure there's no repeating. All right, last two. Number 9, you go to y equals, and then you type it in, 2x squared plus 4x, minus 9. Second graph, delete, delete, delete. We're going to find -8, -5, and -2. My values are +87, +21, and -9. Last but not least is a new one that we need to at least know how to type in. These bars, okay, stand for absolute value. So absolute value is no matter what result I get from this equation right here, it comes out positive. So it makes any value positive. So we're going to tell our calculator to do that. So y equals, okay, here's how you get absolute value, is you go to math. Okay, let me make sure, yes, I'll make sure I do it right. So you go to math, which is underneath alpha. Let me make sure, hold on. Oh, okay, math, underneath alpha, and then you go over to num, which stands for number. So you go to the right for num. And then absolute value is the number 1. So you hit 1, and you see those 2 bars pop up on your y equals screen. So number 1. So then I just type this in, x minus x squared. Then I go to second graph, same old, delete, delete, delete. And then you type in 4, -7, -3. My answers are positive 12, 56, and 12. Okay. Okay, so the last thing we need to learn how to do is do it in looking at a graph. So yes, these are pretty simple if I can use my calculator to do that for me. But whenever I'm looking at a graph, we have to know how to visually look for the answer. So let me tell you the difference. Anytime, so if you look at the difference here, they look almost exactly the same. But here's what I tell my kids. If it's inside the parentheses, it involves the x value. If it's outside the parentheses, it involves the y value. So keep that in mind as I go over this, because there's only 2 examples, it's not very many. So they want me to find what f of x is when x is -4. And the reason why I know this is x is -4 is because it's inside the parentheses. So they want me to find what the y is when x is -4. So think about this. Here's the x-axis, okay? Look for -4 on the x-axis. That's 0, -1, -2, -3, -4. So here's -4. But they want me to see what is that on the graph. So I look up to the graph and I see where they would intersect. That's this point right here. And they want me to figure out what is that y value. So my answer would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My answer would be 5. When x is -4, my answer is 5. Okay, well, let me throw out some more examples. Let's say they wanted me to find f of -3, okay? Well, inside the parentheses means x, so look on the x-axis for -3. Okay, that's right here. Well, what is this on the graph? Well, on the graph, this is 0, okay? If I were to do f of -2, okay, that means inside the parentheses again. So if I were looking for f of -2, well, here's -2 right here, but where it goes and meets the graph down here is 1, 2, is -3. This would be -3. If I were to do f of -1, okay, that means inside the parentheses, that's x. So here's -1. Well, on the graph, that meets up with -4. If I were to do f of 0, that means where x is 0, that's the center, where it meets up with the graph would be -3. If I were to do f of +1, that's +1 on the x-axis is right here, and where it meets the graph is 0. And if I were to do f of 2, where x is +2, it meets the graph up here, and that's +5, okay? If I were to do the opposite, so here they want me to find f of x when it equals 4. Since it's outside the parentheses, then this value means the y, okay? So this time, they want us to find the x. So I'm going to find where y is 4 and what that means for the x value. So if I look here on the y-axis for +4, oh, this is going to be tricky, because if I go up to 4 and I try to see where it matches the graph, this is a guess, this would be where it meets the line would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 off the graph, that's +6. Okay, not the prettiest, but normally you'll be able to see. So let me throw out some more examples. If it said f of x equals, let's say 3, okay? If it said f of x equals, not 3, yes, 3. Yes, 3. If f of x equals 3, that means if y is 3, what's the x going to be? So if I look at where y is 3, and then I go to where it meets the line, what is this? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, +5. So x would be 5 here. if I did f of x equals, I'm just kind of guessing here, if f of x equals 1, that means where y is 1, what's the x? That means if here's y is 1 and I go where it meets the graph, that means x is positive 2. If I were to do f of x equals negative 1, that means on the y-axis where it's negative 1, what's that x? That would also be negative 1. If I were to do f of x equals, let's see, negative 3, we want to know what x would be if y is negative 3. So y is negative 3 is right here. What is this x value? That would be 1, 2, 3, negative 4. X would equal negative 4. So you have to kind of figure out, did they give me the x? Did they give me the y? What do they want me to find? So not too tricky, but you have to do a little thinking.